Hello all. So I want to talk about motivation and why people fail to change, even though they may watch hours of motivational videos, read all the self-help books, even they get coaching and therapy, and yet they still don't actually make lasting change. Maybe they do make some change, but it just doesn't last. And they fall into a couple of traps, which once you understand, you'll have such a better success of actually making lasting change. And this is what I've experienced in my life. So let me break this down for you firstly. So the first big trap to understand is something called ambivalence. So when we think about motivation, we think about pushing through, we think about action, we think about staying consistent. But what we don't realize is that lasting change actually follows a completely different path. And it's actually once you see this path, you'll actually understand why you've been failing, and then you'll know what to do. So that's the beauty of this. And the secret is that there are 3 steps to this process. That's what I'm going to be going over in this video. These 3 steps aren't just going to get you moving, but they'll actually rewire how you'll motivate yourself forever. So stick around because this is a really powerful video. So like I said, the first step, or the first thing to understand, is the trap of force and ambivalence. So this is how most people believe change works. They think, I know, I'm just going to decide to do something. I'm going to go to the gym. Then what I'll do is I'll take action. So I'll go to the gym and I'll stay consistent. And then eventually I'll change. My body will change. I'll like how I look. I'll like how I look. Actually, I don't like how I look right now. So that'll be it. That'll be the change. And that sounds simple. But in practice, nobody can do this. Everybody falls off when they do this. Everybody does this. And the reason is because they skip over something called ambivalence. And what ambivalence is a tug of war in the mind. So there's a benefit to going to the gym. You're going to look good. But there's also a pain. And they also a benefit to staying at home, that you're not going to feel uncomfortable. You're not going to feel judged. You're not going to have to be in front of other people looking unfit when there are people that look fit. I want to get fit, but I just don't want to give up the comfort of occasionally staying in and eating pizza. Or what if I try this and work really hard and nothing changes? This is all called ambivalence. And ambivalence is just this feeling of not knowing. That's all it is. It's this uncovered feeling. And it's not procrastination. Ambivalence is actually the engine of motivation. It's the raw material of change. So what do we do with this? Guys, before I carry on, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out the algorithm so other people can see this high quality content. I think it's extremely helpful. Anyway, back to the video. When we find out about this, we try and fight it. We try and bulldoze over it by willpower. We think if we just push ourselves harder, what actually happens is when we push ourselves harder, because we are split and there's an internal tug of war, the moment we push, we're actually pushing, we actually have something else push back. And this is known in psychological terms as reactance. And that's the psychological need for autonomy. So it's almost like the harder you push, the harder your resistance grows. And anyone who's tried to push themselves to go to the gym consistently will find this. And this is why most self-help fails as well. It's because you're trying to fight your own psychology instead of working with it. So what's the alternative? How do you take ambivalence, the very thing that keeps you stuck, and use it as a fuel to actually move forward? This is where 3 steps come in. So step 1, stop overloading your mind. So the big mistake we make when we decide to change is we start binge watching all of these motivational stuff. We go from one motivational video to another. You read another book after another, and you basically just drown in advice. You become a self-help junkie, and the brain, it just cannot handle this. Your brain memory is like an RAM. The more you load in at once, the more it crashes. It can only handle so much. And change is learning. And learning requires consolidation. So that means that after you hear something valuable, you need to stop. Don't rush to the next video. Close the app and let it sit. Sink it in. Let it marinate in your brain. Think of it like planting a seed. If you keep digging it up to put a new seed in, nothing grows. And this is so important to understand. We keep thinking, I'm motivated, more information, more motivation, more motivation. And none of this actually sinks in. Some of this motivational material is actually really good, but you need one concept at a time and you need to let it sit. So the second step is to reflect and recall. And this is the real secret sauce. After you stop, you need to sit and you need to reflect. And again, this is counterintuitive because we get so pumped up. We think that we need to push and motivate ourselves and just do and just take action. But reflection is where the brain actually sorts out this information. Reflection is when you pull the idea back out of your head, not by rewatching, but by recalling. And you ask yourself, what did I actually learn? Like why does this matter? How does this apply to me? And even better, you can argue with it and challenge it and play it in your own words. And again, this is important because we have these unconscious motivations. Unconsciously, you don't want to feel pain. So going to the gym is actually very painful and you don't want to be judged. But you cannot let that be unconscious. It has to come out. And that's why reflecting and recalling this stuff helps that. So the process of recall is how this part of our brain called the hippocampus, the brain's learning center, takes short-term impressions and turns them into long-term memory. So without this step, nothing actually sticks. So if you're just plowing your brain with different ideas, nothing really goes in. You're just trying to willpower through. You're not actually coming to any realizations. And then the third step is create space and be patient. This is such a counterintuitive step as well, but you've got to be patient with yourself. Now, being patient is understanding one thing about growth. Growth, again, is like planting a seed. And you can speed it up by creating certain conditions, or you can keep digging it up and playing with it. And that's not being patient, that's being frenetic, that's being impatient. And when you're impatient, you make compulsive choices and you easily sabotage. But when you're patient, you let the plant grow on its own accord, and it actually grows faster that way. So patience, the patience is very difficult because we live in a world of instant gratification. You want to take, going to the gym, you want to take photos and show off. We want results now. But real change happens inside first before it shows outside. You have to have these realizations before you start going out and actually applying what you know about yourself. When you stop pushing and give yourself space, something interesting happens. The mind starts to shift on its own. You stop fighting yourself and suddenly a new impulse rises and you feel, I'm ready. It's a realization. And I've had this realization. So when that spark comes, action will just feel natural. You won't have to force it as much, maybe a little bit, but it won't be anywhere near. And you'll actually want to go to the gym. It will just feel natural. It's something where you want to look good. You enjoy the action itself. And that's why this step is so important. So understanding this is important as well. So what actually is happening here is it's about creating this vacuum instead of a big push. And what happens is, and nature hates a vacuum. Something will fill it. And usually that something is your own authentic desire to move. So when you create space for yourself, you'll be like, no, I actually want to do this now. Like, I don't want to go without this growth. I don't want to go out without seeing how my body would look if I just made myself slightly uncomfortable. Like the love of going to the gym will outweigh the love of staying home and eating pizza. And then you'll come to that conclusion yourself. That's how change happens. So why this works is this, the psychology underneath this, why this works. Let me just kind of zoom out a little bit and explain how why this process is so powerful and it's so counterintuitive. Ambivalence is the real battleground. When you learn to treat ambivalence as data instead of a problem, you stop wasting energy fighting yourself. The next thing you want to understand is forcing backfires. When you push against yourself, you push back, you create resistance, you create shame, and you create failure cycles where you go, you stop, you feel bad, and then you eventually just don't have the motivation because you can't face the fact that you've missed so much time, etc. And then ownership creates motivation. So when you let yourself come to a decision, it becomes yours. People stick to what they choose. It's like you're now owning this commitment. And it's not that you're doing it because you feel like society is telling you to do it. It's a completely different, it's a subtle shift. So this is the thing, guys. I really hope that if you have been struggling for years, that this video actually may change a lot in your life. And the thing is, it's not because you're lazy. This is the thing. We start beating ourselves up because we're like, okay, I'm just lazy. This, I don't know how to motivate myself. And the truth is that nobody's ever taught you about what I'm teaching in this video. Nobody's ever actually told you how motivation actually works. So just follow these steps. In the early weeks, you're probably not going to see much change. That's normal. That's what's happening is internal, and your brain is kind of sorting things out. Around 4 to 8 weeks, you'll start to see a shift. You'll start to notice that new thoughts or inspiration will start to bubble up, and there'll be bursts of action. And this is where you've got to be patient with yourself, remember. And then by 12 weeks, changes will start to stick. The behaviors will feel more natural, less forced. And maybe, you'll fall off sometimes, and that's relapsing sometimes isn't failure. That's just how learning works. So each stumble is new data you can reflect on and use. So overall, remember, these are three things I want you to take away from this video. If you've been struggling with motivation, you've got to stop blaming yourself, stop forcing, stop binging, stop fighting your own psychology. Instead, remember these 3 steps. Stop overloading, reflect, and be patient. So stop chain watching videos. Number 1, stop chain watching videos. Number 2, spend time walking, taking time doing nothing. And then number 3, be patient. Patience is like the water that helps the plant grow. And it's such a big shift in how this works. So this is the real engine of change, and this is actually how motivation stops being something that you chase after and that you hope to have one day. It starts being it's actually becomes something that you create. Now, if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel. I feel like this content is extremely important for you guys. Like and subscribe to the channel, and then click on this video here if you found this helpful. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.